Detroit is on fire with horsepower wars. Insurance companies are circling like sharks, and GM is quietly pushing its most flamboyant muscle car gamble yet. Out rolls a carousel red Pontiac, shouting its name across the boulevard. The Judge. Engine rev. It wasn't just a GTO, it was a statement. Wild stripes, outrageous colors, and a marketing punch straight from late-night comedy. But here's the kicker. Behind the bright paint and wild advertising lies a darker, stranger, more complicated truth. From factory mix-ups and cancelled prototypes to insurance scandals and Hollywood cameos, these are the 20 weird facts you never knew about the 1969 Pontiac GTO Judge. And wait till you hear why number 1 almost never made it to production. The GTO Judge wasn't just a car, it was Pontiac's rebellious answer to a changing world. Born in the muscle car golden era, it combined flash with fury, style with satire, and speed with salesmanship. And yet, the deeper you look, the stranger it gets. From marketing tricks to under-the-hood oddities, every inch of the Judge hides a story. Stick with me as we count down 20 of the weirdest. And hey, if you love hidden car lore, hit that like button and subscribe before we drop the gavel. It was named after a TV sketch. The Judge wasn't born in an engineering lab. It came from a joke. The name came from the popular Here Comes the Judge comedy sketch on Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In. Pontiac marketing executives thought it was edgy, relevant, and perfect for 1969 youth culture. Here's the twist. Internally, engineers hated the name. They wanted something serious, while ad men wanted something wild. The Judge won. Why? Because Pontiac's ad campaign promised that when the Judge rolled up, everything else on the street was guilty of being ordinary. Collectors can still spot early press cars with hastily applied decals, as Pontiac rushed to match the pop culture moment. And if you think that's strange, wait until number 19 explains how the Judge almost launched as a bargain basement car. It was supposed to be cheap, not flashy. You picture the Judge today as a premium package, wild stripes, hood tech, Ram Air engine. But the truth? It started as Pontiac's attempt to undercut Plymouth's budget-priced Roadrunner. The original plan was a stripped-down GTO with no frills, basic interior, and a low price. Here's the kicker. By the time it launched, Pontiac flipped the script. Instead of cheap, it became a flashy premium option package, costing buyers more, not less. Rumor has it, Pontiac brass feared a cheap GTO would tarnish the brand. Collectors today drool over Judges with minimal options because they hint at that original idea. And that twist? 18 reveals how a wild paint color nearly defined the entire Judge lineup. Carousel red wasn't really red. Every Judge you've seen in posters looks bright orange, yet Pontiac called the launch color Carousel red. Why? Because marketing didn't think orange sounded tough enough. Even stranger, period brochures exaggerated the hue, making it glow almost neon. The detail nobody talks about? Carousel red was mandatory at launch. You couldn't order another color. Only later in 1969 did Pontiac allow buyers to choose other shades. Spotter's tip: carousel red cars with original lacquer often fade toward pink, making survivors extremely valuable today. The twist? A color mistake at the factory once resulted in a handful of Judges leaving the line in Firebird-only paint. And if you think that's weird, wait until number 17, where a dealership stunt turned a Judge into a literal circus car. A dealer turned one into a circus car. Here's one of the strangest publicity stunts. A Pontiac dealer allegedly painted a brand new Judge in circus stripes and used it as a parade car with clowns in the back. Local newspapers reported the sight, and it infuriated Pontiac brass, who thought it mocked their flagship. The legend lives on, though no photos have surfaced, only period clippings and owner recollections. If true, it shows how over-the-top the Judge's image had become by summer '69. Collectors whisper about parade-used Judges, but provenance is almost impossible to prove. Still, the story underscores the madness of the era, and it leads us right into number 16, because if clowns weren't shocking enough, Pontiac engineers hid something even stranger under the hood. The Judge could hide a 428, but it wasn't legal. Officially, the Judge came with a 400 cubic inch Ram Air 3 or 4. But insiders claim that certain dealers and engineers slipped in Pontiac's larger 428 engine, usually reserved for full-size cars. Here's the kicker. GM policy capped mid-size cars at 400 cubic inches. Anything bigger was against the rules. Allegedly, a handful of factory-connected Judges escaped with 428s before corporate caught wind. Some historians dismiss it as urban legend, pointing out no verified VINs. Still, collectors hunt these phantom 428 Judges like buried treasure. Spotter's tip: if you see a Judge with odd engine stampings, it might be one of these whispered anomalies. And if you thought that was wild, number 15 proves Pontiac wasn't done bending the rules. The no racing policy didn't stop Pontiac. By 1963, GM had a corporate ban on racing, but Pontiac engineers were addicted to speed. The Judge launched in 1969, right in the middle of that policy. The twist? Pontiac snuck parts meant for drag strips into street-legal packages. Ram Air 4 engines with round port heads, heavy-duty valve trains, and 4.33 gears were essentially race kits wearing license plates. Some Judges even slipped out with dealer-installed headers before cars left the lot. The part nobody talks about? Pontiac marketing still advertised the Judge in drag racing magazines, skirting GM's corporate gag order. Collectors today prize Ram Air 4 Judges because they were basically factory loopholes. And if you thought corporate defiance was bold, number 14 reveals how a Judge even became part of a courtroom scandal. A Judge once showed up in court. You can't make this up. Period reports say an actual GTO Judge was once used as an exhibit in a court case involving street racing. The car had been impounded after a high-speed chase, and the Judge, an actual judge in black robes, ordered it towed into the parking lot for jurors to see. Here's the kicker. Newspapers ran the headline, "Judge meets the Judge." Pontiac PR tried to distance itself from the publicity, but the legend stuck. Spotter's angle? Judges tied to police impounds or court documents often command bizarre attention at auctions. But if a courtroom cameo sounds wild, number 13 shows how the Judge was also a hit on late-night television. The Judge crashed late-night TV. Not only did the car borrow its name from Laugh-In, but Pontiac actually sent a Judge to NBC's Burbank studios for a photo op. Rowan and Martin posed with it in publicity stills, though Pontiac never paid for product placement. Even stranger, rumor says some executives worried that tying the GTO brand to comedy would make it look less serious than a Chevelle SS or a Dodge Charger. But here's the twist. The gamble worked. Sales spiked, and the Judge's pop culture image was sealed. Collectors today love original promotional material from this tie-in, often worth more than rare options. And if TV stunts weren't enough, number 12 takes us to a Judge that never saw daylight, because Pontiac built a prototype nobody expected. The never-released station wagon Judge. It sounds absurd, but Pontiac once toyed with a Judge station wagon prototype. Records show that Pontiac styling studios mocked up at least one GTO wagon with Judge stripes to test family-friendly muscle. Why? Because dealers begged for something to rival Oldsmobile's Vista Cruiser performance models. The wagon never reached production. GM brass killed it as off-brand. But sketches and rumored clippings survive. Here's the kicker. If that wagon had been greenlit, we might be talking about the first true muscle wagon. Spotter's tip. Occasionally, enthusiasts clone Judges into wagons for shows, but no authentic production versions exist. And speaking of clones, number 11 reveals why Judge replicas became one of the biggest headaches in the collector world. Judge clones flooded the market. By the 1980s, the Judge had become a collectible icon. The problem? It was just an option package, meaning base GTOs could be cloned with decals, spoilers, and stripes. And boy, did they flood the market. Unscrupulous sellers slapped Judge decals on any GTO, jacking up values. The twist? Even Pontiac dealers in the 70s sometimes added the Judge stripes to move unsold GTOs, muddying authenticity further. Today, collectors check cowl tags and PHS, Pontiac Historic Services, documentation to confirm real Judges. Spotter's tip. True Judges had option code WT1, plus correct spoiler mounting holes. But if clones were a headache, number 10 proves factory mistakes were even crazier. A factory error created stripe-less Judges. Believe it or not, a handful of 1969 Judges slipped out of factories missing their signature tricolor stripes. Why? Reports suggest assembly line workers either ran out of decal sets or skipped them during rush production. Here's the kicker. Pontiac never recalled them. Buyers sometimes added stripes later, but a few remained plain. Today, these stripeless Judges are unicorns. Some purists call them ghost Judges. Collectors debate whether they're more valuable, but one thing's certain. They highlight how chaotic 1969 production really was. And if you think stripes going missing is strange, number 9 shows how Pontiac nearly gave the Judge a different hood entirely. The Judge almost had a totally different hood. The hood tack is legendary, but the Judge nearly had a wilder option. Early design sketches show a twin-scoop shaker-style hood concept, meant to mimic Mopar's fresh air intakes. The idea was scrapped, too costly and too risky with GM's parts-sharing policies. Instead, Pontiac stuck with the Ram air hood, with its twin nostrils. Here's the kicker. Pontiac engineers still built a handful of experimental shaker hood test cars. None officially survived, but insiders swear at least one prototype sat in Pontiac's Milford proving grounds for years. Spotter's tip. True Judge hoods carry unique bracing underneath, making them harder for cloners to fake. And if hood experiments sound odd, number 8 takes us somewhere even stranger, when insurance companies basically declared the Judge guilty. Insurance companies blacklisted it. By 1969, muscle cars weren't just fast, they were financial headaches. Insurance premiums skyrocketed, especially on cars with flashy stripes and spoilers. The Judge, with its wild looks, was a red flag. Some insurers flat out refused coverage, labeling it a high-risk youth car. Here's the twist. Some dealers quietly swapped Judge stripes for plain GTO trim, so buyers could sneak past insurers. That's right. People bought Judges and then disguised them as normal GTOs just to afford premiums. Today, collectors call these stealth Judges. Spotter's angle? If you find a Judge with mismatched paint under the stripes, it may have lived a double life. And if insurers caused headaches, number 7 proves even Pontiac dealers sometimes went rogue. Dealers created dealer-special Judges. In several markets, Pontiac dealers got creative. Some ordered plain GTOs and slapped Judge kits on them, advertising them as exclusive dealer editions. One dealership in the Midwest even painted judges in custom metallic blues, never offered by Pontiac. The part nobody talks about? These dealer-created specials confused Pontiac's own production records. Collectors today argue whether they're real judges or dealer clones with paperwork. Either way, some have fetched six-figure sums at auction just for their backstory. Spotter's tip: always check if the build sheet lists WT1, the judge package. Without it, no matter how flashy, it's not born a judge. But if dealers were shady, number 6 takes us to Hollywood, where the judge became a pop star. The judge starred in a hit song. Most muscle cars got movie cameos, but the judge got a song. Paul Revere and the Raiders released Judge GTO Breakaway in 1969, a promotional tie-in commissioned by Pontiac. Here's the kicker: Pontiac gave away the record at dealerships, hoping teenagers would play it on repeat. The lyrics weren't subtle, celebrating speed, style, and rebellion. Today, those vinyl singles are rarer than some factory parts. Collectors pay hundreds for a mint copy. Spotter's tip: if you ever see a judge displayed with a 45 record on the dash, it's a nod to this oddball marketing stunt. And if music tie-ins seem quirky, number 5 reveals a judge that actually went drag racing, despite GM's so-called no racing rule. The NHRA-bound judge. Pontiac couldn't officially race, but privateers sure did. A handful of 1969 judges ended up as NHRA superstock drag cars. Tuners like Royal Pontiac in Michigan massaged Ram Air 4 engines into low 13-second quarter-mile machines. The twist? Some were rumored to have Pontiac factory backing, even if GM denied it. One famous judge, painted white with sponsor decals, shocked crowds by outrunning 426 Hemis. Spotter's angle: drag-prepped judges with real period documentation are among the rarest muscle cars on Earth. If number 5 shows how the judge defied the racetrack ban, number 4 proves it also defied the paint booth, with one of the strangest color controversies of all time: the mystery of the pink judges. Yes, you heard that right. Pink judges. Period documents and owner testimonies claim that a tiny handful of judges were sprayed in special paint hues, including a pale pink tone. Why? Because Pontiac's special order system allowed nearly any GM color if you knew the codes. Here's the kicker: one pink judge allegedly went to a dealer's daughter as a graduation gift. While never officially documented in Pontiac brochures, special order colors are proven, and these pink judges are considered holy grails. Spotter's tip: look for SPEC in the paint code area of the cowl tag. Proof it left the factory in a non-standard color. But if rare paint is shocking, number 3 reveals how one judge became a literal law enforcement car, a judge in police service. It sounds insane, but records confirm at least one 1969 GTO Judge was ordered for police use. A small-town department in Ohio supposedly wanted a high-speed pursuit car, and a judge fit the bill. Imagine the irony: the judge marketed as a rebellious outlaw car wearing police lights. Here's the twist: reports say the chief's son often borrowed it for weekend drag racing. Whether legend or fact, it's one of those stories that cement the judge's cultural paradox. Collectors drool over anything tied to government service, and a true police-issue judge would be priceless. But if cops driving a judge is weird, number 2 takes us to Pontiac's own archives, where lost documents reveal something even wilder. Pontiac almost killed the judge after 1969. Here's the kicker: Pontiac nearly ended the judge after its first year. Despite the hype, sales didn't meet expectations. Only 6,833 judges were built in 1969, a fraction of Pontiac's hopes. By late 1969, Internal memos suggested dropping the package entirely. The twist? Dealers begged to keep it, arguing the judge's wild image drew foot traffic, even if most buyers walked out with regular GTOs. Pontiac caved, continuing the Judge into 1970 to 71 with new colors and graphics. Collectors see 1969 as the purest form, the original vision before compromise set in. And that brings us to number 1, the reason the Judge almost never happened in the first place. The Judge only existed because Pontiac needed a joke. Here's the final reveal. The Judge wasn't supposed to exist at all. In 1968, Pontiac executives debated how to answer Plymouth's Roadrunner. Engineers wanted a stripped, cheap GTO. Marketers wanted something fun, wild, and ironic. Then, someone pitched the "Here Comes the Judge" gag as a temporary ad campaign. It snowballed. The package was created as satire, mocking the muscle car craze while selling into it. Even more shocking? Pontiac brass nearly killed the idea at the last second, fearing it would tarnish the GTO's macho image. But they rolled the dice, and history was made. Without that comedy sketch, without that cultural gamble, the Judge would have never left the courtroom of Pontiac's marketing team. And that's the twist. It was a joke that became legend. The 1969 Pontiac GTO Judge wasn't just another muscle car. It was irony on wheels, a rolling punchline that became a cult classic. Born from a TV sketch, saved by dealer pressure, and forever tied to outrageous colors, it blurred the line between parody and performance. Behind the stripes, the spoilers, and the swagger was a machine that mirrored its era, loud, rebellious, and just a little absurd. So now I'll ask you, what blew your mind most? Was it the pink judges, the police cruiser, or the fact it almost never existed at all? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you're hungry for more Pontiac lore, check out our deep dives on the Firebird Trans Am and the wildest roadrunners ever built. And remember, in the world of classic muscle, there's guilty, there's innocent, and then there's the Judge.